Originally the story, I don't know if this is true or not. Ryan Murphy's here. He's the guy behind the Facebook page, Town of Grease Uncovered. But I don't know if you know the history of your town. Now, I'll give it to you. From what I have been told, and I don't know that it's very verified. But Greece, the country, separated itself from the Ottoman Empire. Right? So they were standalone and fought. Well, back in like the late 1800s, Greece wanted to get away from Gates. So it went into some kind of like battle, right? So they could break off from Gates. And the reason Greece is so big is they were like, well, fine, fuck it. Take that up there. It's a lot of swampland. And so they let everybody from Gates said, take that. And
I think 1812 or 1814,
something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they bought it for 2 cents an acre.
But they like Greece got screwed. So the reason it got named that was just like the country; it rose to separate itself.
See, who kicked East Rochester out?
Well, see, we have a friend named Tom Muley who explained that the evolution of Greece was that it broke off from East Rochester during the Continental Drift and it moved over.
He used to always say East Rochester was a little piece of Greece that broke off and floated east.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was originally Greece.
Okay. East. But that's not the first. Greece isn't the first town that broke away from Gates. There's another town that we know that broke away from Gates.
Chile?
Rochester.
Oh, Rochester. Yeah.
Rochester actually started in Gates. I'm not joking.
Yeah, I think Gates was.
Man, they really pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
But they're all Italian.
But
no matter where you go.
The reason I play foreigner, Lou Graham, Gates.
Yeah.
He's from Gates.
He stuck around.
The one good thing for Gates.
You count on one hand, but.
All right, Mr. Murphy. Here we go.
Dish.
Boy, you got stuff. He has a private Facebook group with over 6,000 members.
Yep.
It's not so private with 6,000 members. You realize that, right? You made the page for the town because you say we need, and I'm going to quote this off, I think it was off WordPress. Just
probably.
Okay. We need to stand together against the corruption and against the brutal treatment of our town employees. People can share the page anonymously or send an email to townofgreece.newyorkuncovered@gmail.com if they wanted to give something. And I immediately thought, what is the brutal treatment of Greece town employees? Because that does sound a bit dramatic. But then I remembered there was an article, I believe it was this past September, because I was still paying for the DNC then. And I went back and I looked, and sure enough, and in there it says a former town employee alleged that Bill Rylick, the Greece town supervisor, owner of the Batmobile, right? He has a replica Batmobile, forced him to work without compensation on Rylick's side business.
Correct.
That's what this guy's alleging. Refurbishing vintage cars. But that should be like, that's private business, right?
It's
private business. It's a bad look. I'm not going to say that, but it's private business. It's not government.
It's racketeering, right?
When the employee complained, the lawsuit claims he was demoted and stripped of some retirement benefits. If that's true, as a town employee, now we've crossed lines here.
That and the fact that
was there another project too where they were like fudging guys' time cards or something? Or?
Project or projects?
I don't know. You tell me.
I think the other part of that was he was forced. He basically had to use his paid time off to fill in the hours because, at least at the beginning, he was being pulled off of town jobs on a Friday to work at Bill's business. And so,
what's Bill? What is the name of the business? I don't know anything about his business.
Is it a front
business?
The Hot Rod Ranch.
The Hot Rod Ranch is Bill's?
Yes.
Oh,
wow.
I mean,
okay.
he's got a half dozen businesses, but that's the one that's in the lawsuit.
That's how it works.
Okay,
Valkenburg will storm it.
So, what kind of cars are out? I'm going to take this completely off, but I'm interested. It's mostly what, American Muscle.
From what I've seen or what I know, it's mostly classic cars.
Yeah,
muscle.
But muscle, American Muscle. You look like you're a car guy. You like no?
No, I don't know much about vehicles. I got my Jeep, but
yeah, that's about it. Was that you that pulled in with the
Gladiator?
Yeah. How do you like that?
I like it a lot. Yeah.
I saw that.
Hope we got it from Carm.
All right, so this article back in 2023, back in September of this year, of this past year, certainly says a lot. But let me ask you this. You've got a Facebook page where people can go and leave anonymous tips, but they can also comment and stuff.
Correct.
So a lot of that becomes conjecture and opinion, and that stuff sometimes isn't, and rumors, right?
Correct.
Which doesn't, I'm not going to say that they're not coming from somewhere, and maybe, where there's smoke, there's fire, that kind of thing. But have you had any problems with potential libel suits from anybody?
Libel suits? No. I've obviously
Slander?
had repercussions from the town.
Yeah, well.
But as far as libel suits, no.
Because Rylick said the vast majority of residents are pleased with town government.
I have not met those people, but
Yeah.
I mean, everything I post,
Yeah.
I back up. I put documentation behind it, and I'm very careful, because what I say and what I post, he can come after me
Yeah.
with.
Right.
What your average person says, I have no control over.
Well, I think this is interesting for anybody, because we'll talk specifically about stuff happening in Greece, but I think there's a lot of people now that are upset with the government. I mean, I think we're seeing stuff happen at a national level that we've never seen before. So people are like really, really kind of fed up with things. But now you've got a little bit more power in a sense, because where you couldn't get right to them, you can get right to them now through social media, or you can get a groundswell.
The barrier to entry is gone.
Yeah, well, I was avoiding that phrase, you fucker. Because I always say the barrier to entry is gone, but the barrier to entry to that stuff is gone. You can actually kind of get a groundswell, your own tribe, your own, right, of people who are upset, who want their voice heard, and you become a thorn in the side of the government, so to speak, which isn't always a favorable position to be in, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a moment. But I think that there's some lessons here along the way for people. Like, I'll ask you how many hours a week you put in on this, because I'm sure with a job, it could vary. Maybe it's 2 hours on a Monday, but it could be 6 hours on Friday night. I don't know.
I'll spend a lot of time on this.
Yeah.
It's several hours a day.
Several hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully my wife helps me out on it a lot.
She does. Does she like what you're doing? Does she get nervous about it?
Like might be not necessarily be the word I choose, but she's very supportive.
Yeah.
She agrees with it, and she helps make sure I sound literate in all my posts.
Okay. All right.
So,
well, that is an important thing, because people
and go take the goddamn garbage out.
People will. They'll jump on, right. The grammar police is where they're called. Come out and
Your versus your.
Yeah, all kinds of things.
There.
In the article that the Democrat and Chronicle had, and this is something that I think a lot of towns are dealing with. It says one citizen, Ryan Murphy, that would be you, was looking into sudden hike in the tax assessment on his Greece home earlier this summer when he caught wind of the now public legal complaint against town supervisor Bill Rylick. That would be the one about the working right at the Hot Rod Ranch and the Hot Rod Ranch.
It sounds like a porno with cars.
It does. 100%.
It's like something you'd buy at Ontario Video News. It would be like something Race and Randy would be like have like a cameo, and he'd walk in. Hey, that's not good for the camshaft.
So with the tax assessment, that's been a big deal.
Correct.
There was somebody, I thought, on the website that got theirs lowered by almost 30% because of stuff they read on your site.
I am not sure how. I know one person had their assessment raised about $100,000, and when they went in and fought it, they got it dropped down $30,000. So they got 30% off of what they wanted to raise them.
Yes.
What I found when I originally looked into it was that majority of people in Greece, at least the comparable homes that I was looking into for my grievance, were going up on average 1.5% a year over year over the last 15 years.
Is that usually fairly typical to go up a year? I mean, we usually think like cost of living raises are 3%. Again, that's people's salary, not your assessment. Or should your assessment remain flat? Does it usually say flat? I don't know the answer.
When I looked at it to do my grievance, I took every house in Greece that was the same style as mine, square footage, give or take 100, age, give or take 5 years, bedrooms. There was 48 of them, not including the one on the lake, which it's going to be an oddball. And I looked at the assessments and took basically the average change over a 15-year time frame, and it was, like I said, about 1.5 points over those. So at that point, especially, I didn't know anything about assessments.
Yeah.
I just saw, okay, this is the average. It's gone up.
Right.
My particular house went up 3% on average. And just for the heck of it, I looked at a couple of the officials' houses. I'm like, wait a second. I'm going up this. They're going down. Hang on. What's
and
that's what started
that'll
this
piss
whole.
some people off.
Yeah.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an iron worker.
Okay. We're out at Klein?
No.
Steel? Okay.
No. I'm not gonna.
You do fabrication or something?
No.
No. Okay. Gotcha. Never mind.
Erection.
Gotcha. Yep.
Structural steel.
Gotcha. Oh, so
My dad was a steel worker.
So
not an iron worker. He was a pickler.
So you do buildings and stuff.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, you got the balls. You're walking those beams. You walk the beams, don't you?
You do not F. You do not F with these people.
No, that's what he is. You know what he is? He's that wiry fighter.
Yeah.
He get in his face too much. Riley better watch out. I'll tell you that. I'm kidding.
I bet.
I'm kidding.
Come to work with me today.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not easy.
It's hard, man.
And it's all kinds of weather. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. That stuff's still going. Do you think a lot of this stuff has to do with apathy from citizens? And let me try to rephrase it. I think sometimes not that you would normally get away with this if that's what we want to call it, right? That I'm not looking into it. I don't have time. My bill comes in, I go, God damn it, and then I go on with my life.
Right.
I think that a lot of people do, and they just don't have the time. And I also, you're running your kids. You have kids, and you're running them around, and you got all this stuff. And like Kevin, he's got kids.
That's what I do with my bill. God damn it! What the hell?
Yeah.
Gotta go to hockey.
You got to go to hockey, and so there isn't people. So how are people reacting to you because of this? Are they thanking you, or are some people even saying to you, "Hey, man, you're just really a pain in the ass. Why don't you mind your business?"
Well, there's some people telling me that, but a lot of people have been thanking me. And, to your point, yeah, I think a lot of people, including myself prior to this, just, you got your notice from your bank that your mortgage was going up,
right?
Or you got your tax bill, and it's like, son of a bitch, all right, go pay it and move on.
Right.
But I think the big problem in general, whether it's with the assessments or local government in general, is people don't pay attention.
Well, local government's the one that's going to impact your life the most.
Right.
Right? I mean, it really is. And it is something that we don't pay attention to, because who wants one more goddamn meeting to sit through? You know what I mean? If I don't have to go, who likes meetings at work? Nobody.
Right.
I mean, do they have them at where you work? There's probably like a group thing. Hey, fellas, we're erecting a new hospital. Get ready. Right? You're putting in. What if you had to go work at Hot Rod? What's it called?
Hot Rod Ranch.
Hot Rod Ranch. What if Hot Rod Ranch said, "Hey, man, we're going to hire these guys to put in a new."
I'd volunteer for that job.
Be like Boeing. All of a sudden, there's a few rivets missing here and there.
Now, have you
forgot the fire blanket? Oops.
I would think that most people aren't going to. I was going to say, have you received threats? I think in 2024, it's
yes.
You've received threats, out and out threats. That's what I'm saying. It's like a roundabout way.
The first about a week or couple weeks after I started posting what I found on the Next Door Neighbor app, I got a
Next Door Neighbor app is one of my favorites. Man.
Yeah,
love reading those.
Cease and desist letter. Email, then letter from the town, and it ended, "We will take action, legal or otherwise." So,
what's "or otherwise" mean?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a bullet in his head here and here and here.
Boppity boopy. Whacked.
Okay.
So
with the cease and desist,
I posted it
in terms of what?
To
the Facebook page.
That was posting just about the assessments on Nextdoor.
Okay. So on Nextdoor, you were posting the assessments.
Correct.
And they got wind and sent you a cease and desist.
The town sent it.
Town sent it. Their lawyer just whipped it off. So, okay, then you decide to post it. And most people would probably go, I don't want to fuck around with this. Right? And then, so you post it. What happens next?
Eventually, well, I've had drive-bys past my house.
Drive-by meaning what? I mean, when you say drive-by, that has a...
I mean,
if you go 5 miles in one direction, it means one thing. Go 5 miles in another direction, right?
You could watch people on the cameras in my house, like, driving very, very slowly, taking photos of my house.
Okay, to try to find fault in some way, a code violation or anything, to stick it to you.
Yeah, I had an active building permit pulled. My employer was called and threatened with
what?
Fire this guy or you won't do business in the town of Greece.
Really?
Yeah.
Oy.
So
they really did that?
Yeah. They're not playing.
Yeah.
They're pissed off at me.
Do you feel like you've ever been followed? Let's say you're going to Wegmans or somewhere, or you and your wife go out for dinner or something. You've ever been followed?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I mean,
and it seems a little excessive, but not.
And with my schedule and where I work, I'm all over the place, so it'd be
hard,
next to impossible
to know where you were going to be. Yeah, let's say they'd really have to put some manpower behind, right? I mean, staking out your house and doing all that sort of stuff. Do you fear anything with this?
No, because the big thing is I know that as long as I post
factual stuff. I'm sorry to finish.
And I put up the documentation. You can't do anything.
Right. Facts. That's the thing. That's why I asked earlier about conjecture and rumor and all these things. That can really open you up to something. Right. But if you've got the paperwork, the documentation, and it's factual, then that's it. Ever interested in government prior to this? I'm thinking the answer is no.
I mean, I pay attention to, the national elections and things like that, like, everyone else is forced to.
Yeah. Right.
But on a smaller scale, no, not really.
How about running for something now? Now that you've sort of seen how it works, you've seen this stuff, would you get in there? I mean, you'd be, if it's for the people, by the people, you is the people.
I've had a lot of people ask me to or suggest I run for office. The town elections aren't until 2025.
Yeah, so you got a little bit of time here.
Right, and, with what's going on, that's not something that I'm focused on.
Yeah.
When it's time to get signatures and do all that, or once we decide on a president, maybe after that, then that's something that I'll look at and I'll address, but that's not what I'm focusing on now.
If you were to, I don't want to label you, and maybe you don't label yourself, but if you were to align with a political party, which one has checks more boxes for you?
I'm a Republican.
Okay. But so is Rylick. So you prime, I don't know, would they be able?
He can't run again.
He's
termed out.
Okay.
So whichever one of his.
So would you run again, but then it would almost be as though you were sort of the opposite, right? I mean, like for transparent government versus maybe what they're doing.
I could see that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that would be the thing, a transparent government.
Right.
Let people know what's actually happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually posted it, and it's funny because, like, it'd be so simple. There's a few simple things they could do that would essentially end up making me go away. And it's just following basic laws when it comes to how they run the government, as far as just being a little more transparent, running the meetings like they should.
Yeah.
Kind of being honest with the assessments, just very basic stuff. And it's all the stuff that I'm talking about. Well, if you do it, take care of it.
You go away.
Yeah.
You're only there. You're sort of the checks and balances, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Someone's got to do it. Jeez.
what would
well, no, actually, I take that back. Someone's got to do it, but nobody does it. Like he
Right.
said, like
Yeah.
I got too much crap going on in my
Well,
life.
it's not even that.
Whatever. Just fill in the bubble for this guy and move on.
Well, yeah, because it's one of these things where you're so busy
Right.
that you're not going to take the time to dig into it, and most people are thinking you're not. I mean,
like Nelson Rockefeller
they're going
said,
on FanDuel and saying,
Yeah.
I'm hedging my bet here that no one's going to look into this.
Right, like Nelson Rockefeller once said, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. Why? So we can do whatever the F we want up here in the high tower, right?
much.
What advice would you give to somebody who wanted to do this in their own town?
Get a gun. Get a lot of them. Like Jeffrey Rogers. Okay, so Jeffrey Rogers, like recently, what was the big story in the city?
He'll be on next.
Oh, because there's a big story coming up. I want to hear about this, but he's been getting threats too.
Pathways to Peace.
Yeah, that's the one it was.
The biggest,
Wow, who saw that coming, huh?
the biggest piece of advice that I'd give anyone that wants to do what I'm doing is keep emotion out of it. It was a piece of advice I got when I first started, and because there's been groups similar to mine that have kind of started and then, flamed out
Right.
because they got emotional.
Right.
And sticking to a factual basis, staying apolitical, just, put out the information, be like the news should be.
Yes. Yes.
Honestly. And that's how you,
Right.
are going to get your point across. If you come across with an agenda or emotional, it's not going to work.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. I think that the one thing that everybody should really work on is trying to control their emotions in all things, because not everybody's out to get you. They're just trying to do better for themselves. And if that in the end hurts you, well, then,
Right.
so be it. But that's great advice. You ever think you should get, since the barrier to entry's gone, you should do a weekly podcast on Greece. Really piss them off.
I've had people.
I'm
tell
sure.
me to do
I'm
that.
sure they have. I'm sure.
Maybe I'll take this microphone home with me.
I prefer you didn't, but I mean, no. I don't know. What I wanted to. Well, how much time do you have?
I got time.
You got some time?
Yeah.
All right. Maybe what we'll do is just to see. I was going to ask you to name the famous Grecian. I was going to describe somebody, and you tell me who lives in Greece or grew up in Greece or is from Greece, but they happen to be famous. And then you have to tell me who they are.
Ooh, can I play too?
Now, have you lived in Greece your whole life?
No.
Oh, okay. Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Penfield. I moved to Greece in 2020.
All right. So you're from the greater
He's
Rochester.
from
Yeah.
Gates. Come on.
All right. You moved to Greece in 2020?
Yeah.
God, and you started all this shit since then?
Yeah, we moved in November of 2020.
Wow. Look at you.
Penfield was tired of his shit, so go to the west side.
All right, what we'll do is we'll take a moment. You brought up Jeffrey Rogers. Jeffrey Rogers has GSL News. He's the young guy who he was in here a couple of weeks ago, and he covers a lot of things happening in the city and did a great job with the crash outside the Kodak Center, the very tragic crash. Had some of the best coverage of it, to the point where CNN was using his footage and CBS or ABC or somebody. Now we've got a story about someone who worked Pathways to Peace and but then
Ex-con, right?
yeah, because he can't have a gun, and he was found with a gun. 46-year-old guy, and he's also working in a school. And while he was there, he was also delivering cocaine. Timothy Jackson Jr. is his name. He's 46.
You can't deliver cocaine in a school, huh?
Well, I think he was delivering it to somebody. We'll get all the details.
You can?
From Jeffrey Rogers. As long as
Let's ask Hillman.
it has to come with chocolate milk. As long as you get your chocolate milk and cocaine is the special on there. So we'll talk to Jeffrey when we come back, and then we'll do the Greece. See if you know the Grecians. The Grecians. Well, if you're going to run for office, you got to know your people. We'll get to all that next. But first.